Governor Gary Johnson from New Mexico as Rupert, is one of the best candidates we've ever seen in the state of Indiana. Gary Johnson is one of the most qualified and best candidates the Libertarian Party has ever put forth for President of the United States. I'm very proud to know him. I'm very proud to have eaten dinner with him at the National Convention and his beautiful fiancée. And I can't wait to hear what he's going to say today. Coming off a phenomenal performance in the third-party debate at Chicago last night, even though he was under the weather with the flu and didn't feel good. Gary did a great job, and I can't wait to hear what he say. Governor Gary Johnson, the Libertarian Party presidential candidate for 2012.
You know, I would not be doing this. I would not be running for President of the United States if I didn't think I could do a really good job at being President of the United States. I've been an entrepreneur my entire life. I started a one-man handyman business, grew it to over 1,000 employees. It's amazing what can happen if you show up on time and do what you say you're going to do. That's just amazing. But I grew that firm to over 1,000 employees, and one of the takeaways from being in business was that it's really easy to hire people. Really easy. It's really hard to fire people. Really hard. Mitt Romney said the other day, "I love firing people." I hate firing people. I hate firing people, but if you can't and don't fire people, you don't succeed. And so as much as I hate doing that, I understand the necessity of doing it, and I understand the necessity of doing it as quickly as possible, because if you don't right the wrongs, you end up failing. And in the public sector, you know what? You can go without firing people, and it's just taxpayers that pay for it. In the public sector, it's you that pay for it, and you end up going out of business. In the public sector, I just made a vow to myself to cut as short as possible people that weren't working out, because I only had a limited amount of time, and it worked out really well. I'm also an athlete. I know a lot of you may have heard this before, but what I've learned from athletics is that life is a journey, it's not a destination. I know nobody's asking for my advice here this evening, but our lives are like we're on camera, we're watching a movie, and the movie we're watching is ourselves. We're the producers, we're the directors. Do you like what you see? And if you don't like what you see, who's got control of the situation? Well, you and I have control of the situation. We can change our lives. We can be whomever we want to be. If we have jobs that we don't like, well, you know what? We're looking at this movie. This is a movie. Gosh, this guy really doesn't like the job that he has. He should get another job, right? Well, that's you and I that are in control of our own lives. We can do that. So you're not asking for my advice, but here's my advice. If any of you have a job, or any of you are doing something that you don't like, that you'd like to change, do it tomorrow. It'll never be easier than to do that tomorrow. Never, never. I had the good fortune to summit Mount Everest. But before I summited Mount Everest, about 2 months before that, I broke my leg. Full fracture of the tibia. I went to the orthopedic surgeon within 2 hours of breaking my leg, and my broken leg is 2 times the size of my good leg. And he says, you know what? He says, you can still climb Mount Everest, but no anti-inflammatories, no cast, no painkillers, and I'm going to give you an experimental bone healing device that's really not experimental. It works. And I want you in the swimming pool tomorrow. Oh, man. Now, this is just another example of what we all come in contact with all the time. And that is that no matter what we plan on in our lives, just plan on it not going the way you plan it. And when it happens, we got two options. One is to lay on the couch and go, oh crap, I'm victimized, I'm going to quit. The other is, well, it happened again. Things didn't go as planned, but you know what? You can still make it happen. So I ended up leaving for Nepal with a healing broken leg, believing that it would all work out, and it did work out. Point is also you are listening to somebody right here with no quit whatsoever. And in politics, in politics, I had never been involved in politics prior to running for governor of New Mexico. I mean, not at all. I went and I introduced myself to the chairman of the Republican Party 2 weeks before I announced. And he said, man, I like Gary, I like you, I like what you've got to say. You know, we're inclusive, we're going to include you in all the meetups, you can take part in all the debates and the discussions. Go make your case to Republicans in the state that you should be their governor. I don't know how you're going to do in the primary, but let me just tell you, man, there is no way you're going to win the general election. The state is 2-1 Democrat, and it's not going to happen, but have fun, okay? Well, I get elected. I'd like to think it was based... I'd like to think it was based on what I had to say, which was just to bring a common sense business approach to state government. Best product, best service, lowest price. Keep government out of the bedroom. Less government is better government. I should be making decisions, not the government making decisions. So I get into office, and I distinguish myself immediately for vetoing legislation. First year in office, I vetoed 50% of the legislation that the legislature sent me. And legislatures give you all sorts of legislation. Interestingly, about half of all the legislation they send you is fix-up language for prior legislation. I signed off on that kind of stuff. But anyway, I vetoed billions of dollars worth of spending. I vetoed a whole lot of legislation that was really just going to add time and money to your and my life. Wasn't going to make us any safer. Wasn't going to make us any more healthy. It was just going to add time and money, so why have it? And I vetoed it, and I wrote a veto message. And I have to tell you, the sky was going to fall, people were going to be dead in the streets. Johnson is the worst thing that's ever happened to the state of New Mexico. Well, over a 4-year period, all that criticism went down, but I ended up getting reelected in a state that was 2-1 Democrat by a bigger margin the second time than the first time. So people really appreciated good stewardship of tax dollars. I mean, they really do appreciate good stewardship of tax dollars. Right now, I am on the ballot, and when I say I am talking about we. We're on the ballot in 48 out of 50 states. That is amazing. And the 2 states where we're not, which is Michigan and Oklahoma, both of them ought to wear a necklace of shame of some sort. But in Michigan, I am officially on the ballot as a write-in candidate, and so that just leaves Oklahoma with the onus of no, that's a place never to go visit. You know, and I hope they recognize that. So there are other third-party candidates, but no other third party comes close to this ballot access. None. So when I talk about me and my opponents, I'm going to talk about Mitt Romney and Barack Obama and myself, because that is the 50-state ballot access. So one poll, a couple of studies over the prior year. One was a poll over which presidential candidate was viewed most favorably in his or her own state. It's amazing to me that out of all the candidates running for president, there's only one presidential candidate viewed favorably in his or her own state. And that was me. And how does that work out? In New Mexico, people wave at me with all 5 fingers, not just one. Then they did a study on which presidential candidate has the best record when it comes to jobs. Well, that was me also. And my response to that was the same as it was when I was governor of New Mexico. I didn't create one single job as governor of New Mexico. The private sector creates jobs, but I did create an environment of certainty. I controlled all the rules and regulations. I appointed the heads of all the agencies. I appointed all the boards and commissions. I controlled all the rules and regulations got better on a daily basis with just a fundamental basis in common sense. Less time, less money for you and I to have to comply with rules and regulations that weren't going to make us any safer, weren't going to make us any more healthy, so why have them? And I'm really proud of this. I'm proud of the fact that the ACLU issued a report card on all the presidential candidates last December. And the ACLU, a group dedicated to the Constitution, a group dedicated to civil liberties, a group dedicated to the first 10 amendments of the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, they came out with a report card. 24 liberty torches was a perfect score. And this is important. Mitt Romney and Rick Santorum had 0 liberty torches out of 24. 0, none, zip. Newt Gingrich had 4 liberty torches out of 24. Barack Obama had 16 liberty torches out of 24. Really, my hero, and I hope everybody's here, Ron Paul had 18 liberty torches out of 24. I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing the seeds that Ron Paul has laid when it comes to liberty and freedom. It's absolutely amazing, the awareness that Ron Paul has raised in this country on these issues. But I had 21 liberty torches out of 24. So how does that equate when it comes to the issues? Well, let's not bomb Iran. Let's get out of Afghanistan tomorrow. Let's bring the troops home. Let's recognize marriage equality as a constitutionally guaranteed right. It is a federal issue. It's not a state issue. Let's end the drug wars now. Let's legalize marijuana now. We're at a tipping point on marijuana. It's on the ballot in Colorado this November. Regulate marijuana like alcohol. Coloradans get it. I've grown up in New Mexico, neighbor to Colorado. I was always drawn by the fact that on a per capita basis, more people smoke pot in Colorado than any other state. 6 years ago, citizens of Denver voted to decriminalize marijuana on a campaign based on marijuana being safer than alcohol. They get it. And when that happens, and I say when, because I think Colorado's going to do it, but if Colorado doesn't, it's just a matter of time before it does happen, and people realize that the sky isn't going to fall, that the world is actually a better place when police go out and enforce real crime as opposed to victimless, non-violent crime. That's when the dominoes fall, and we're there. And we're there because everybody's talking about it. And we're there ultimately because of the Libertarian Party. I mean, when you go back 40 years ago and realize that 40 years ago the Libertarian Party was that's the crazy party that talks about legalizing drugs. Well, for me, that wasn't the crazy party. That was the, well, what's all that about? And that makes perfect sense. And going back 40 years ago, well, I've identified myself as a libertarian from day one, from the time that the Libertarian Party was established. But then there was the whole notion of going to a debate, for example. And how many of you have attended debates where, this is my earliest recognition of going to debates, congressional debates. The scene in the bar after the debate was, well, who won the debate? Well, the Libertarian won the debate. Everybody agreed on that. But then the discussion shifted to, well, who are you going to vote for? Because Libertarian can't win. Nobody can win being that grounded in common sense. Look, how would it have worked out if I would have been president of the United States after 9/11? I would have vetoed Homeland Security. I would have vetoed the Patriot Act. I spent my time after 9/11 saying no to every law enforcement agency that wanted to expand by about 40% to save us from the ills of the world. I spent my time saying no. They wanted to barricade the FAA building in Albuquerque. It's one of the 6 regional control centers across the United States. They wanted to permanently barricade it. No, no. I would have vetoed the National Defense Authorization Act. We fight wars in this country to prevent arrest and detainment without being charged. That's why we fight wars in this country. And right now, we need to balance the federal budget now. We are going to experience a monetary collapse unless we balance the federal budget now. And that means taking on the entitlements, Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, military spending. The debates 2 weeks ago, they were debating over who's going to spend more money on Medicare when we need to have a discussion, a raging debate and discussion in this country on how we slash Medicare spending. Medicare is a benefit that you and I are paying $30,000 into, and we are receiving a $100,000 benefit. It's absolutely unsustainable, and it's an example of many other areas of government where free comes at a cost, and the cost is here. It's today, and we have to address this today, or we're going to find ourselves without a country. That's where we're at. That's the tipping point. We're at the tipping point right now, and nobody wants to address it. We all recognize it. We all recognize it, and yet Obama and Romney want us to believe that the Easter Bunny, that the Tooth Fairy, that Santa is coming. They're not. And we all recognize it, but nobody wants to talk about it. And then crony capitalism is alive and well in this country. You know, at the tip of crony capitalism is the Federal Reserve, which takes money from the Treasury, loans it out to the banks at 0%. Do the banks loan it out to you or I? No, because they buy treasuries in a closed loop. They make profits without taking any risk whatsoever. And you and I pay for those profits? What an inside game. What an inside game. And then they talk about jobs, and you got Obama and Romney. No, 27%. No, we'll do away with this deduction. We'll do away with that deduction. We'll add this special dispensation for this particular industry. Hey, how about abolishing the Internal Revenue Service? How about eliminating income tax and corporate tax completely? If that isn't the answer to tens of millions of jobs being created in this country, I don't know what it takes to create tens of millions of jobs in this country. And I would replace it all with one federal consumption tax, which ends up to be cost neutral over a very short amount of time. It's really the answer to American exports. It's really the answer when it comes to American jobs. If manufacturing jobs don't flock back to the United States under a zero corporate tax rate environment, there's nothing we can do to create that at all. So President Obama, how many times are we all asked about, well, what do you think about President Obama? Well, here's what I think. I think that the guy, like everything out of his mouth, is just like music. Can you disagree really with anything that he says? I mean, there is nothing that he says that really isn't right on. It's just the reality doesn't match up with the words in any way, shape, or form. It's just not the case. He's as militaristic a president as we have ever had. Stop with these military interventions. They're talking about foreign aid to Syria, you know, backing our new friends in Syria. Our new friends in Syria, which a quarter of which have now been recognized as jihadists. Did we not learn anything in Afghanistan? Nothing. Apparently, we didn't learn anything in Afghanistan. And Romney says, what about foreign aid to Pakistan? What do you think, Governor Romney? Well, I think that we shouldn't cut off foreign aid to Pakistan, $2.5 billion, because they have nuclear weapons, and we don't want those nuclear weapons to get into the wrong hands. Well, what message does that send to a country like Iran that does not have nuclear weapons? It's a message that says the only way you can get respect from the United States is to have nukes. And that's the situation that exists right now. And don't bomb Iran. Bombing Iran is bombing innocent citizens. That's what that's all about. And the largest demonstration in the world in support of the United States after 9/11 was in Iran. Over 1 million citizens showed up in support of the United States. And we're going to bomb Iran? And Mitt Romney, this is a smart guy. I mean, really. Or really? He says it's a no-brainer that we should build a fence across the border. As a border state, that'd be about the dumbest thing that we could possibly do, is to build a fence across the border. And if we want to check it out, let's just build a fence around Indianapolis as a pilot project and see if that keeps you in or out of Indianapolis, if you want to get in or out of Indianapolis. Make it as easy as possible for somebody who wants to come into this country and work to get a work visa. We're going to need all sorts of immigrant labor if we'd actually fix our tax system and eliminate corporate tax, get us back to the way the country started. And then Mitt Romney says it's really important to balance, both of them say that we should balance the budget, but I know that there's no chance that Obama is going to balance the budget, but there's supposed to be hope with Romney when it comes to balancing the budget. But he says we should balance the budget, but we should increase spending for the military, and we should hold Medicare intact. Everybody here has finished the second grade, and the mathematical equivalencies that have to go along with finishing the second grade, it doesn't add up. And we're not stupid, and yet this is what we're supposed to be, I guess, is stupid. So here's what you hear all the time is waste your vote. Look, I like what Johnson has to say, but that would be wasting my vote. I want you to say, wasting your vote is voting for somebody that you don't believe in. That's wasting your vote. The way you change things in this country is to vote for the person that you think can do the best job. That's how you change things in this country. And in that regard, thank you each and every one of you for your activism. Libertarians are activists. Libertarians, whether you like it or not, and you witness it in the workplace, your co-workers, your friends, they look to you on these issues because you've taken the time to be informed. If you're a libertarian, you're never going to get elected, but you know what's going on. Right? So the pitch is when your coworkers, when your friends, what's going on? What's going on is you need to waste your vote and vote for Gary Johnson. And if everybody does that, I am the next president of the United States. And my pledge to you is that nobody is going to regret that. Nobody. And nobody's going to regret it from the standpoint of actually getting up every single day and doggedly pursuing all these issues. Aren't we desperate to vote for a leader as opposed to the lesser of two evils? And that's what we're trying to settle for. And it's crazy. And this time is what the viewpoint, my viewpoint is, this is a snowball moving downhill. Basically what's happening right now about every 4 days is the interest in this campaign is doubling every 4 days. Now, whatever that comes to come election day, whatever that comes to on election day, just understand that this phenomenon is happening. And it's not going to stop. The thing about momentum is that it's just that. It's momentum. Loss of momentum comes when you have something like this happening. This is not happening. This is happening right here. So if it doesn't happen right now, let's just keep it up. Let's just keep it up, because we're going to supplant Democrats or Republicans and become one of the major parties. And let's not blow it when we become one of the major parties. We're not going to blow it. We're not going to lose sight of this. Thank you all very, very much for your activism. You have no idea how much it means to have so many wonderful people out there talking about